Okay, good evening to all of you. Yesterday we talked about different sources of morality and what are their limitations. First, we talked about law. There are four major limitations of the law that we discussed. First is it could be unethical. Second, it doesn't cover each and every ethical norm. Third, it cannot change at the speed of society. And fourth, it can't capture all human behavior. Right? Then we saw the relation between ethics and law. Second, we discuss ethics and religion. In religion, also, we saw some of the limitations of the religion. And towards the end, we said that in personal sphere, a person is allowed to choose his or her own religious beliefs and faith. But in collective life, we have to practice secularism. And going ahead, by using ethics, we can do ethical inquiry into religious practices, and we can only retain those religious practices which are harmless, while those which are unethical and harmful should be rejected. Same discussion was done with customs and traditions, and finally emotions. Today we are going to discuss remaining part, where we will discuss few more sources of morality, and in those sources we also discuss their limitations. So let's start with the first. One is science. So some of you might be student of science. So what is science basically? So if you want, write down this definition of science. Science is a systematic body of knowledge that is proven, that is tested, that is reliable and universal, and which makes things predictable. So science is basically what? It is a knowledge, right? But it is not any knowledge. It is a systematic body of knowledge that is proven, tested, reliable, universal. Okay, so what is your opinion? Tell me in chat box. Do you believe that science does help us in taking ethical decisions? What is your view? To believe it does help us in uh, ethical evaluation of human action? Okay, some people believe it does. For example, through science, we come to know that if you marry a person below 18 age, 18 years age, then that person is not physically and mentally ready for those roles and responsibilities, right? Or science tells us that if you smoke cigarettes or tobacco, there is a likelihood of contracting cancer, right? So because of such knowledge that we gain through science, some people believe that it does tell us about morality. Now, even though it is true according to some people, still science cannot be equated with ethics, and there are certain reasons. So first reason, note down that all things that are possible due to science, you have to ask, are they all ethical, right? What do you say? Are all those things ethical which are possible due to science? Yes. Online people? No. For example, write down example. For example, you can make nuclear bombs and drop the bomb on other countries or societies. Correct. Weapons of mass destruction. Or you can use technology, science for sex selection and female foeticide, right? Cyber crimes that happen through science, adulteration. Recently in Maharashtra, there are instances of milk adulteration are being discovered by using various chemicals. So there is a science behind it, right? Correct. So if it is the case that whatever we do through science by using science is not all ethical, so that proves that science itself doesn't guide us about morality, right? Second question you should ask, can science always answer questions about human behavior? What is your opinion? Yes. No, it doesn't. In a way, it could be only descriptive, like psychology, right? But when it comes to prescription, should aspect, science doesn't help us. So you can say science is a value neutral because it doesn't capture values. So for example, can you measure honesty objectively? For example, what do you mean by 100% honesty? Can you say it objectively? What do you mean by 50% courage? Right? So science doesn't necessarily capture values. So what exactly science does? It gives us some answers about world and human behavior, but it doesn't answer the question about should aspect of the human behavior. Right? Correct. Conversely, in ethics also, we do make use of scientific methods, but we cannot say ethics is a science because ethics is also concerned with values. Right? So this point, even though ethics makes use of scientific methods or science, still it is not a science, right? Because it is concerned with values which are not captured by science. Now there is one branch of ethics, it's known as evolutionary theory. It claims or it tries to find out scientific basis of morality by claiming that human beings have become ethical or moral because we have evolved. Are you gaining the understanding of their argument? Their main argument is because of evolution, human morality is possible. Had we not been evolved, we would not have been moral. And they give some examples in support of their claim. For example, earlier human beings were cannibals. What we call cannibals in Marathi is Narbhakshak. We used to eat each other. So, for example, few decades back, there were some tribal communities in Papua New Guinea, a Pacific Ocean country, island country, where they were claimed to be or they were found to be cannibals. Even today, in certain tribal communities, they retain the skulls of the enemies they killed and ate as trophies, even though they no longer do it today. So, there is a history of cannibalism in human societies. But these people claim that today we are not cannibals. So that indicates we have evolved through that stage. Okay, second example they give in support of their claim is the way we have social relations today in a complex society, they were not earlier there. For example, relations about who should mate whom, sexual relations, right? So today we have certain taboos around sexual relations in our society, but they were not there. Earlier, people used to mate with anybody. But over a period, through our capacity to observe and learn, we learn that if there is a mating or sexual relation within close group, then it may produce genetically defective progeny. So आज भी इंडिया में ऐसे कुछ ग्रुप्स है, communities है जहाँ conjugal relations happen within a close circle and they have uh, uh, genetically defective progeny. Have you heard about such groups in India? Yes, where they intermarry within very close group, and consequently the genetic pool is limited, and they have genetically defective children, right? सो उनका ये दावा है कि हमें ये मालूम पड़ा इवोल्यूशन की वजह से एंड वी क्रिएटेड नॉर्म्स अराउंड दिस रिलेशंस moral norms and we have become moral. Now, through these examples and claim, do you really believe there is some merit into their claim that the morality, human morality, is possible because of the evolution? Yes. What about others? Do you really believe there is some merit into such claims and examples? Hmm. Well, if you believe there is a merit, then you must ask a counter question. That if it is a case that we have evolved into a moral being, then why even today there are some crimes that we come across which make us being ashamed as human being? No? क्योंकि इवोल्यूशन अगर हुआ है तो सबका होना चाहिए. Why some people stand out and commit a very heinous crime? For example, you might have heard that even small babies are not spared, they are raped and killed, right? And in marital relations, brutalities are unleashed on spouses, where they are killed, meowed, cut into pieces, cooked, stored into fridge, or put into cement drum. Have you heard such stories in media? Yes, the extreme stories of perverted behavior, right? Now, if that is the case, it strongly counters these claims. So there are serious flaws in evolutionary theory in ethics, and that is why it is not a mainstream theory in ethics. Are you getting the point? No, being aware is not enough. Are you getting the point? Being aware is not enough to claim that we have become moral, because evolution happens with everyone as a species, right? So this claim that because of evolution we are moral is not true. But there is a mutual influence of science and ethics over each other, and that you have to write down. Okay. Okay. What is influence? One is science can furnish us necessary information which can aid ethical decision making. For example, write down, there is something known as forensic science in crime investigation. Have you heard about it? Forensic science? Yes, guys. Correct. So where we collect blood samples, analyze fingerprints, go through DNA checking, right? And through that only we come to know who did what and who is culprit. Correct? Right. So there are multiple examples where science can provide us necessary information by using which we can arrive at proper judgment in ethics. Without that information, having mere values is not enough. Of course, should aspect science नहीं आता है, because science does tell you that smoking may cause cancer, but स्मोकिंग करना चाहिए कि नहीं ये साइंस नहीं बताता. इट इज इन्फॉर्म्ड बाय योर वैल्यूज. इज दैट क्लियर? हाँ, बट ये जो नेसेसरी इंफॉर्मेशन है टू अराइव एट सर्टेन कंक्लूजन, वो इनपुट साइंस आपको देता है. सो दिस इज इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ साइंस ऑन इथिकल डिसीजन मेकिंग. नाउ व्हाट इज इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ इथिक्स ऑन science? So ethics gives direction to scientific activities or scientific endeavors. For example, one example is whenever we conduct clinical trials of medicine, vaccination, the activities that are done for these research projects are approved by ethics committees. So have you heard ethics committees in such endeavors? Yes. अच्छा, आप मुझे बताओ, ह्यूमन क्लोनिंग हुआ है अब तक? Have you heard about human being cloned, have been cloned? Human cloning हुआ है अब तक? No, it has not happened. Why? Because there are ethical concerns. Right. Have you heard about the concept known as designer babies? इसके बारे में सुना है? डिजाइनर बेबी होते क्या है? डिजाइनर बेबी का मतलब बिफोर अ बेबी इज बीइंग born, during its conception you decide its characteristics, what it is going to be in its life. पहले ही आप डिसाइड करते हो इंजीनियर होगा, डॉक्टर होगा, सिविल सर्वेंट होगा, आर्टिस्ट होगा, स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन होगा, फिलोसोफर होगा. ओके. अगर ऐसा होने लग गया, डू यू बिलीव इट इज इथिकली राइट? नो, बिकॉज वी आर टेकिंग अवे द फ्रीडम ऑफ दैट पर्सन टू शेप वंस ओन डेस्टिनी, है ना? इसलिए हमने ह्यूमन क्लोनिंग भी नहीं किया है, डिजाइनर बेबी को भी परमिशन. ओके, लेट्स आस्क मी दिस क्वेश्चन. Is there permission for genetically modified food products in India? Are we consuming GM products, food products? Yes. No, we don't. Food products nahi hai. And a genetically modified food product is not allowed. What we have is only BT cotton. That is only GM crop that we take because it is not consumed. Yeah, because there are ethical concerns around it. So this is the influence of ethics on scientific activities. That ethics gives direction to scientific endeavors. Without ethical approval or approval of ethics committees, critical scientific projects are not undertaken. And this is how ethics and science help us. Are you getting the point? Yes. No, not even fruits and mangoes are GM modified. No, no, not at all. They are crossbred. Crossbreeding is not GM modification. Okay. Uh, so have you understood relation between science and ethics? Correct. Next point is ethics and art. So what is art and how is it different compared to science? Can you give me some points regarding difference between science and art? Yes. क्या डिफरेंस होता है बताओ. Hmm. Okay, I'll tell you one difference. Science is objective while art is subjective. Right? So what we do in science is mostly objective. Correct, Rashmi. Science is objective and art is subjective. Okay, this is one. What about other differences? Science mostly deals with concrete material world, which is observable. है ना? जिसको हम कहते हैं आउटर वर्ल्ड, एक्सटर्नल वर्ल्ड. While art mostly deals with inner world of the human being. Do you agree with this difference? Inner world का मतलब our thoughts, our emotions, our perspectives, our ideas, our beliefs, our faith. Yes. Second, science mostly tries to provide comfort or comfortable, physical comfortable human life. जिसको हम कहते हैं physical ease, है ना, by using science. बट आर्ट बहुत बार क्या कर रही है, हमारे मेंटल प्रॉब्लम्स को एड्रेस करने की कोशिश कर रही है. इट इज ट्राइंग टू शेप आवर इनर वर्ल्ड, आवर इनर थॉट्स. करेक्ट है ना. Science gives emphasis on exactness, accuracy, while art gives emphasis on variety. Correct. So, for example, in science, whenever you do something, and in order it to be theory, you have to have same results under same conditions. But in art, it is not necessary, right? Rather, you can bring variety in the same thing. For example, same song can be sung through various styles. It need not be through same style, right? All right. So this is the difference between science and art. So what do you believe that does art guide us about morality? What is your opinion? Yes or no? ये गाइड करता है हमें morality के बारे में? Yes, to some extent. For example, certain poems, songs, spiritual stanzas like Abhanga, Shlok, right? Certain novels, movies, they do influence us and give us moral perspective. Correct? Right. But is that influence necessarily ethical? No, not at all. Art का influence वो necessarily ethical नहीं, right? So let's try to figure out similarity between ethics and art. Both are concerned with evaluation of human action. So in ethics, what we do is we evaluate human behavior or action from the perspective of rightfulness or wrongfulness that we saw in the first definition. But in art also, we are trying to evaluate an action of the artist. But the perspective that we use for such evaluation are different. The perspectives in ethics are informed by certain ethical moral values and perspectives. While in art, the perspective is more concerned with what we call beauty. है ना, ज्याला आपण मराठीत म्हणतो सौंदर्य. Correct? Now, second question that is often asked as far as art and ethics is concerned, that would a person be ethical if he practices ethics like art? Like, artists become an artist through practice of that art. Similarly, if a person practices morality day in, day out, so can he or she become ethical? What is your answer? Yes or no? अगर किसी ने इथिक्स को प्रैक्टिस किया हर दिन, तो वो बंदा इथिकल बन सकता है क्या? यस और नो? हम्म. Some people say yes, some people say no. So even in ethics, there are different theories which say yes and different theories which say no. For example, there is one theory given by Aristotle. Its name is virtue ethics theory. Aristotle emphasizes on developing good habits which eventually become your virtue. And this virtue shape your character and you become predictably good person, ethical person. But on the other hand, there are some theories who say that habits don't help you in every situation. Habits कहाँ डेवलप होती है? जहां हमको कुछ चीजें नोन है कि ऐसी होती है तो इसके लिए ऐसे करना चाहिए. But many things in our life we do first time. So their habits won't help you. What here helps you is ethical framework, a set of rules, values, principles. है ना? सो ये जो आंसर है इस क्वेश्चन का, ये लिमिटेडली यस है. It is not completely yes. Is that clear? Okay. Next point is difference between ethics and art. So one is about scope. The scope of art is limited compared to ethics. The art, particular art is limited to that domain, even though it is about entire life, human life, but still its performance is limited to its own domain. While ethics is concerned with entire human life, it is often proverbially said that ethics starts from womb and continues till tomb. Womb का मतलब as soon as a man is conceived in the womb of his mother, ethics starts. So, for example, to whom child should be born, how it should be born, is also governed by moral norms. Right? Do you agree with this? कि किसको बच्चा होना चाहिए, कैसे होना चाहिए. Similarly, death is also governed by moral norms. What kind of death we can call as moral death or immoral death, इसके बारे में भी ethical norms है. So ethics is wider, it has a wider scope compared to art. Second difference is intention. Often in art, intention of the artist is relatively of less importance than his performance. Right? So for example, if a singer is singing, do you really wonder why is he singing? Or what are you concerned about here? You are more concerned about how well he or she sings. Right? Are you getting the point? Here, intention doesn't matter. But in ethics, not only consequences matter, but why are you performing particular action is also important. So intention has a critical role in ethics compared to art. And finally, can you stop acting on art versus ethics? Yes, you can stop acting on art. You can, one day say that I'm no longer interested in this art. I will switch to something else, and society is okay with it. But there is no such option in ethics. As long as you are living with at least one person, ethics is compulsory. So you can't stop acting on ethics. So are these differences clear to all of you? Yes, guys. ये क्लियर हो रहा है आपको? हाँ. Please reply so that we can move ahead. Right. Now, same difference is seen here. Personality development versus inner development or development of character. So have you heard about certain coaching or classes, they try to help you or develop your personality? Yes. So what do they teach you in those classes? They most of the time teach you the art of presenting yourself to the others. For example, how to speak well, how to have eye contact, body language, how to face interviews, how to take part in group discussion, how to deliver a speech, how to present your ideas. ये सब सिखाया जाता है. But my question is, does that really develops your character? है ना? ये आपका कैरेक्टर शेप कर रहा है क्या? But ethics is more concerned about your inner world, right? It is more concerned about the values you have, the virtues you develop, the character you have, the behavior you have, है ना? So ये difference है art and ethics के बारे में. Okay, now my question is, does ethics necessarily make you moral? Does art necessarily make you moral? And the answer is no. Why? Because had it been the case that art is necessarily making you moral, then all artists would have been ethical people. But are they all ethical people? Yes, guys. क्या लगता है आपको? No, not all of them are ethical people. Correct. Some of them are unethical. They indulge into unethical practices like frauds, violence, sexual exploitation, drug addiction. है ना? हाँ. So, but yes, how to conclude here? That art doesn't necessarily make a person ethical one, but it has potential to influence our ethical ideas. And in coming lectures, when we'll discuss Plato and Aristotle, we'll talk more about the role of art in ethics. But ये आप conclusion में लिख लो that art has potential to influence our ethical ideas, shape our ethical views, but it doesn't necessarily make us ethical. Rather, you can safely write that art is like a double-edged sword. Are you getting the point? For example, art can be used for unethical practices as well, unethical things as well. Have you heard about the term known as propaganda art? So recently some movies have been released in India and they indulge into propaganda. So can you give me some example of such movies that are actively churning out propaganda that is a one-sided or false narrative rather than giving complete picture to the audience? Correct. Right. Correct. So these are the movies that have been churning out propaganda. So art can be also used for bad purposes. So in history, Hitler did the use of or made the use of art for propaganda. Are you getting the point? That is misleading the masses है ना through one-sided narrative. So आपको क्या conclude करना है इस relation के बारे में? That yes, art has potential to influence our ethical outlook, but it doesn't necessarily make us ethical. Rather, it is like a double-edged sword. And going ahead, we will discuss more about it. So, have you got this crux of relation between ethics and art? Yes. And the differences and similarity between ethics and art? Okay, let's move to next point, which was not part of our list, is conscience, a source of ethics. So these are the four things that we are going to discuss. Have you heard about conscience? Yes. In Marathi, we call it Sat Sat Vivek Buddhi. So these are the four things that we'll discuss. One is what is conscience? Second, what experts are saying about it? What are the drawbacks if you rely on conscience for decision making? And what is the solution to overcome those drawbacks? So let's start with the definition of conscience. Write down these definitions. A moral compass that guides people regarding good or bad, right or wrong. तो इसको मेटाफोरिकली आपको क्या लिखना है? इट इज अ मोरल कंपास, है ना, जहां लोगों को गाइडेंस मिल रहा है गुड और बैड, राइट और रॉन्ग क्या है ना. इसको और किस तरह से डिफाइन कर सकते हैं? इट इज द सब्जेक्टिव अवेयरनेस ऑफ द मोरल क्वालिटी ऑफ आवर ओन एक्शन. और ये सब्जेक्टिव अवेयरनेस किस चीज से इंफ्लुएंस हो रहा है? द मोरल वैल्यूज टू विच वन सब्सक्राइब्स. सो कॉन्शियंस इज शेप्ड बाय आवर मोरल वैल्यूज. और मोरल वैल्यूज कहां से मिल रही है हमें? द एनवायरमेंट इन विच वी आर ब्रॉट अप. सो ये लिंक आप समझो दैट आर एनवायरमेंट शेप्स आर कॉन्शियस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू हैव बीन ब्रॉट अप इन patriarchal environment, then more likely that your conscience is going to be patriarchal. So conscience के बारे में और कुछ जान लो. That it is also known as intellect because the word sat sad vivek buddhi and the word buddhi means intellect, our capacity to reason out. और ये क्या इंटेलेक्ट करती है? पासिंग जजमेंट ऑन द गुडनेस और बैडनेस ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर एक्ट. सो कभी आपने ये महसूस किया है दैट वेन एवर यू डू समथिंग योर इंटेलेक्ट स्टार्ट्स टेलिंग यू वेदर इट वाज गुड और बैड, राइट? सो इट स्टार्ट्स पासिंग जजमेंट ऑन व्हाट यू डिड. सेकंड, इट इज अ प्रैक्टिकल जजमेंट ऑन अ पर्टिकुलर कॉन्क्रीट ह्यूमन एक्शन. सो ये एब्स्ट्रैक्ट नहीं होता है, थियोरेटिकल नहीं होता है, ये आपको प्रैक्टिकली गाइड कर रहा है अबाउट अ पर्टिकुलर कॉन्क्रीट ह्यूमन एक्शन. It is also known as inner voice, but it is not equivalent to feeling or an emotion. Because we have talked about emotion in the last lecture, that emotion is a response mechanism for which we are biologically wired. But intellect is not akin to emotion. It may influence the emotion, but it is not akin to emotion. So intellect is different, emotion is different. Intellect is more like a rational part of your inner self, while emotional is like an irrational part of your inner self. Is that clear? Yes. Or instead of saying self, you can say mind. Yes. So far क्लियर हो गया आपको? ये पॉइंट्स इंपॉर्टेंट है आपके लिए. कॉन्शियस के बारे में आपको अगर जानना है तो ये पॉइंट आपके दिमाग में होनी चाहिए, इसका अंडरस्टैंडिंग होना चाहिए. ओके, नेक्स्ट पार्ट इज कॉन्शियस क्या करता है. Okay, so this is what conscience does, functions of conscience. One, it not only drives or activates the attempt to refine the belief. What do you mean by refining the belief? Yes, what do we do when we refine the belief? Refinement का मतलब making it pure or clear. So conscience हमें help करता है to be more clear about our own belief. So कभी कभी आपने खुद से ही डिबेट किया है about certain things in your mind, है ना? डिबेट होता है ना अंदर, है ना? इनर चर्निंग जिसको कहते हैं, वो चर्निंग कॉन्शियस कर रहा है. और क्या करता है? it also translates belief into action and engagement. So sometimes conscience forces you to act on your belief. So you don't only think or believe something, conscience also asks you to act on it. So in that way conscience is a motivational force, है ना? आपको मोटिवेट कर रहा है. और क्या करता है? इट स्विंग्स इनटू एक्शन टू असेस द पर्सनल चॉइसेस एंड एक्शन, है ना? वो आपको हेल्प कर रहा है कि आपने जो जो चूज किया है, जो जो एक्ट किया है, वो इथिकल है कि नहीं. प्लस ये कैसे करता है? द टास्क ऑफ कॉन्शियस इज टू कोक्स, स्वे, परसुएट, थ्रेटन. सो ये जो मैकेनिज्म्स है अलग अलग, आपको टेम्प्ट कर रहा है, इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहा है ना? थ्रेटन भी करता है कि देख तूने ये नहीं किया तो वो ये होगा, है ना? बट इन एनी केस उसका मकसद क्या है? टू सी दैट द थिंग्स, राइट थिंग्स इज डन. सो उसको जो लगता है राइट है, वो हो रहा है, ये इंश्योर करना ये कॉन्शियस का काम है. और क्या करता है? कॉन्शियस इमोशन भी पैदा करता है, जैसे गिल्ट और रिग्रेट. सो इफ यू डोंट लिसन टू कॉन्शियस, यू एक्ट कॉन्ट्ररी टू इट्स एडवाइस, इट क्रिएट्स गिल्ट. सो कभी आपके बारे में हुआ है ऐसे? यस, दैट यू डिड समथिंग against what conscience was telling you and later on it started pricking you that what you did wasn't right, इट वॉज रॉन्ग. ये सब प्रिकिंग करता है आपको एंड आपके मन में वो गिल्ट और रिग्रेट पैदा. अच्छा, गिल्ट और रिग्रेट में एक माइनर डिफरेंस है. गिल्ट इज अबाउट एक्शन while regret is about inaction. अच्छा, so guilt is about that action which should not have been done but you did it, है ना? इससे वजह से गिल्ट होता है. सो आपने गलत वर्ड का इस्तेमाल नहीं करना चाहिए था लेकिन आपने किया एंड यू नाउ फील गिल्टी, है ना? रिग्रेट इज मोर अबाउट इनएक्शन. आपने कुछ करना चाहिए था लेकिन किया नहीं ना, एंड नाउ यू रिग्रेट इट. फॉर एग्जांपल, यू शुड हैव सेड सॉरी अबाउट व्हाट यू डिड रॉन्ग बट यू डिड नॉट से इट एंड नाउ यू रिग्रेट नॉट सेइंग सॉरी. सो ये डिफरेंस समझ में आ रहा है आपको गिल्ट और रिग्रेट का? यस, करेक्ट. सो ये आपको जान लेना है दैट व्हाट कोक्स का मतलब टू गिव टेम्पटेशन एंड इन्फ्लुएंस. स्वे का मतलब टू स्विंग इनटू वन डायरेक्शन. स्वे, हाँ. इज दैट क्लियर? यस, गुड. सो दीज आर सम फंक्शंस ऑफ कॉन्शियस, है ना? आपको रिफाइन करने में हेल्प कर रहा है बिलीफ को. इट ऑल्सो फोर्सेस यू टू एक्ट ऑन बिलीफ. मोटिवेट कर रहा है, कोक, स्वे, परसुएट, थ्रेटन कर रहा है. गिल्ट या रिग्रेट पैदा कर रहा है ना? देन हाउ इट इज डन, इसको कहते हैं वॉइस ऑफ कॉन्शियंस। राइट नाउ, व्हाट इज वॉइस ऑफ कॉन्शियंस? ये चार तरह से आता है वॉइस, हाउ यू हियर द कॉन्शियंस, हाउ इट मैनिफेस्ट। वन इज कमांड। So when it is manifested as a command, you are not free not to act on it. Okay. So particular act is to be done. It is imperative. It is आदेश जिसको कहते हैं. And you don't have freedom not to act. Second, forbids. It doesn't allow you to do particular thing, not to be done. And you feel it is an obligation to avoid such thing. है ना? सो कभी कभी आपने महसूस किया है अंदर से आपको परमिशन नहीं मिलता है, अंदर से वो आपको रोक रहा है कि ये मत कर, एंड यू फील ऑब्लाइज्ड, है ना? थर्ड, इट मैनिफेस्ट लाइक समथिंग दैट परमिट्स यू टू डू समथिंग. सो अनलेस योर इनर वॉइस अलाउज यू टू डू समथिंग अकॉर्डिंग टू योर मोरल वैल्यूज, यू डोंट डू इट. है ना? वो आपको परमिट करता है तभी आप करते हो. सो पूरी दुनिया भी अगर आपको फोर्स कर रही, जब तक आपका अंदर का वॉइस आपको अलाउ नहीं करता, यू डोंट डू इट. कभी कभी आप उससे एडवाइस भी लेते हो, सो इट एक्ट्स एज एन एडवाइजर. है ना? वो आपको बता रहा है ना, कि ये करना चाहिए या नहीं, बेटर है या वर्स है ना? सो इसमें अगर आप रैशनलिस्ट लोगों का सुनोगे, व्हाट वी कॉल देम इन मराठी बुद्धि प्रामाण्यवादी, दे हियर रिवील द फंक्शन ऑफ प्रेयर. सो आपने प्रेयर कभी किया है किसी भी सुपर नेचुरल एंटिटी से, भगवान से? तो इस रैशनलिस्ट लोगों का ये मानना है दैट वेन एवर यू प्रे टू एनी गॉड और एंटिटी, यू आर एक्चुअली टॉकिंग टू योर कॉन्शियंस. थ्रू प्रेयर यू एक्टिवेट योर कॉन्शियंस and it gives you feedback, and then you believe or think that the god has helped you. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? अच्छा, इसमें एक इंटरेस्टिंग मूवी है, उसका नाम आप लिख लो और देख लो. उस मूवी का नाम है द 100 फुट जर्नी. लिखा आपने नाम? यस, द 100 फुट जर्नी. हम्म. इसमें इंटरेस्टिंग मूवी है ये. इसमें ऐसा होता है, अ फैमिली ऑफ कुक्स और शेफ travels to Europe in search of livelihood, and they are roaming from one country to other country for stable life. तो उस फैमिली की जो हेड वुमन होती है उसकी इंडिया में डेथ हो जाती है, बट हर हस्बैंड बिलीव शी इज स्टिल अलाइव एंड शी हैज बीन एक्टिंग एज हिज एडवाइजर. तो एक दिन ऐसा होता है, while traveling from Switzerland to Paris or France, in a घाट section, they had an accident. Okay, और एक्सीडेंट में they somehow survive the death. मरते मरते बच जाते हैं. So entire family gets anxious and angry with the head of the family. So he starts consulting her who is dead. Now, if you ask rationalist that to whom he is talking actually, they would say that he's not talking to his dead wife. He's actually talking to his conscience, who after some time gives him advice that in the nearby town you will find a good footing, good foundation, and your business will thrive. सो आपको ये स्टोरी समझ में आ रही है 100 फुट जर्नी? इट इज इंटरेस्टिंग मूवी, बट इट प्रोवाइड्स यू सम साइकोलॉजिकल इनसाइट, है ना? सो स्पिरिचुअलिटी में जो हम प्रार्थना करते हैं, प्रेयर करते हैं, वी आर एक्चुअली टॉकिंग टू आवर कॉन्शियंस. एंड दैट इज व्हाई मेनी मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर दे सजेस्ट दैट वी शुड हैव अ हेल्दी सेल्फ टॉक. कभी ये सुना है मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर से? दे एम्फसाइज ऑन सेल्फ टॉक. टॉक टू योर माइंड, टॉक टू योर सेल्फ. Through that you can reactivate or make your conscience very much alive or active. Yes, I hope you might have heard about it. Okay, so the next question is conscience always reliable? है ना? तो इसके बारे में साइंटिस्ट क्या कहते हैं? So what scientists did, they perform certain experiments on toddlers. So do you know who are toddlers? They are kids who are hardly 2 years old, है ना? They have started just to walk around, carry things here and there. So what is this experiment? What they did, they made a mother and her toddler to sit in a big hall where a large cupboard is kept in a corner and it is closed. A stranger enters through door carrying books in his both hand, and he tries to keep books into the cupboard, but he fails. When he fails three times, the toddler sees it and goes there, opens the door and helps the stranger, and it was observed across the toddler. अब ये साइंटिस्ट जो है जो टॉडलर के ऊपर एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हैं, उनका ये कंक्लूजन है दैट व्हेन दिस टॉडलर आर एक्टिंग without being told, without being instructed, it is their conscience that is driving them to act on it. समझ में आ रहा है आपको ये? हाँ, कि कोई भी उनको टॉडलर को नहीं बता रहे कि स्ट्रेंजर को हेल्प करना चाहिए, वो खुद से कर रहे हैं. मीन्स दे आर दिस एक्शन इज ड्रिवन बाय देयर इनर वॉइस. सो कॉन्शियस पहले से ही होता है, तो वो रिलायबल होता है क्या? तो इसका आंसर है हमेशा नहीं, बिकॉज इट इज ऑल्सो इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय द एनवायरमेंट इन विच वी ग्रो अप. है ना? इमेजिन समवन इज ब्रॉट अप इन रॉन्ग एनवायरमेंट. Would his conscience be reliable as far as ethical decision making is concerned? What do you say? लगता है आपको ये reliable होगा? I often give example of Ajmal Kasab. Do you believe that he was born terrorist? Do you know who was Ajmal Kasab? He was the only terrorist that was caught alive after 26/11 attack. No, he wasn't born terrorist. He was made terrorist. Right? In a vulnerable teenage phase, he was trapped and brainwashed by certain nefarious elements of the Pakistani society, and he was made to believe that killing Indians was a good thing. है ना? तो ऐसे चीजों में करप्ट हो जाता है कॉन्शियस, एंड इन दैट केस यू कांट रिलाई ऑन कॉन्शियस फॉर एथिकल डिसीजन मेकिंग. तो इसको हम कहते हैं, इस केस में इट इज नोन एज क्राइसिस ऑफ कॉन्शियस. प्लीज राइट इट डाउन. क्राइसिस, है ना? क्राइसिस का मतलब है शॉर्टेज और प्रॉब्लम. सो ये कैसे होता है? एक तो कॉन्शियस वीक हो जाता है ना, या एब्सेंट हो जाता है. मतलब वेन एवर यू डू एग्जैक्टली अपोजिट थिंग्स दैट आर टोल्ड बाय कॉन्शियस, आपके अंदर बुरी आदतें आ जाती है. यू बिकम विक्टिम ऑफ बैड हैबिट्स एंड यू आर रिपीटेडली यील्डिंग टू कॉन्ट्ररी इंक्लिनेशंस. है ना? हाँ, ये जो वर्ड है कॉन्ट्ररी, ये इंपॉर्टेंट है. So I'll give you a relatable example. Now I assume that most of you are in the initial phase of this preparation of competitive exams, right? So initially your conscience is strongly and frequently telling you that you should work hard, study every day to pass this exam with flying colors, right? But if you don't listen to your conscience, disobey it, over a period it becomes a weak conscience. And if you continue to do same thing which is exactly opposite to what your conscience is telling, there comes a point where it becomes an absent conscience. Means it doesn't tell you anything actively. Okay, then it could be corrupt as well when it is influenced by outside environment. So corrupted by external influence or advice colored by vested interest or other interests. ये भी हो सकता है. इसको कहते हैं अनरिलायबल और करप्ट कॉन्शियस. उस फेज में कॉन्शियस आपको एग्जैक्टली अपोजिट एडवाइस देता है. सो अर्लियर वो अगर आपको ऐसा एडवाइस दे रहा है दैट स्टडिंग इज बेटर फॉर यू, वर्किंग हार्ड इज बेटर फॉर यू, नाउ करप्ट कॉन्शियस वुड टेल यू दैट you should stop studying, it is harmful for you. And if it happens, then conscience is not reliable, it becomes unreliable. So are you getting this concept of crisis of conscience? Yes, कि conscience का problem हो रहा है तो ऐसे होता है ना? आइदर कमजोर होता है या एब्सेंट हो जाता है या वो करप्ट हो जाता है, जैसे अजमल कसाब का करप्ट हो गया था, है ना? नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज इफ इट इज अनरिलायबल व्हाट टू डू. नाउ एज लॉन्ग एज यू आर अलाइव, कॉन्शियंस इज गोइंग टू बी देयर विथ यू, एंड इफ यू हैव टू लिव विथ इट, व्हाई नॉट मेक इट बेटर विच वुड एक्ट एज योर सर्वेंट. सो इसको कहते हैं डेवलपिंग कॉन्शियंस, है ना? सो ये भी लिखो आप, that what we need to do is make an active effort to develop the conscience, and these are some of the steps that you can undertake. So write down first one. Yes, reinforcing its importance and acceding to its commands. है ना? तो आपको खुद को मन में बताना है दैट कॉन्शियस इज इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ आवर लाइफ and we should understand its importance and we should try to listen to conscience whatever it says. Second, refusing to compromise even in the smallest instances. Now ये difficult है, बहुत बार लोगों को ये temptation हो जाता है कि छोटी चीजें करने से क्या होगा, है ना? It doesn't cause lot of harm. For example, if someone is on diet, okay, so they have now and then temptation that they should indulge into little bit eating, है ना, जो प्रोहिबिटेड है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इतू सा तो केक खाना है, उससे क्या होता है? बट दे डोंट रियलाइज इट इज जस्ट द बिगिनिंग दैट इवेंचुअली टेक्स यू टूवर्ड्स लार्जर वायलेशन. सो इतू सा केक से इतना कब खाया ये आपको समझ में नहीं आता है. आर यू गेटिंग द पॉइंट, ऑनलाइन पीपल? So this is also important. So even in small instances, you should not compromise with the direction given by conscience. अब इससे क्या होता है? Then your conscience become more strong, more solid. समझ में आ रहा है? Then third step, write down. You should follow moral exemplars. इनको हम कहते हैं role models. So if you have role models in front of you, then their views, their ideas, their values influence your values. And in a way, you start following their footsteps. And your moral values shape your conscience. So how many of you have role models in front of you? Yes. Do you have any role model to whom you actively admire, follow, and try to walk on their path? Yes. Yes, most of us, correct. They do influence our values. Then fourth thing you can do is writing down your thoughts. So some people maintain journal, diary, a notebook where they record their own thoughts. अब इससे क्या हो जाता है? Because of such writing, दो चीजें हो जाती है. एक, writing brings clarity to your own thoughts. आप खुद अवेयर हो जाते हो कि मैं क्या सोच रहा हूँ, कैसे सोच रहा हूँ, किसी चीज की तरफ कैसे देख रहा हूँ. एंड वेन एवर यू स्टार्ट राइटिंग इन दिस वे, in a way, indirectly, you start reflecting on your thoughts and you indulge into their evaluation. And in this process, you start talking to your conscience. क्योंकि conscience भी इसमें involve होता है then, है ना? So writing is a very important and necessary exercise to shape your conscience. Then you can use documentary and visual incentives. So different artifacts, for example, pictures, paintings, sculptures, music, even poems, novels can be actively used to shape your conscience. So art can be used. Okay, in this case, I often give an example that happened on international level and you might be aware. सीरियन रिफ्यूजी क्राइसिस हुआ था. सीरिया में बहुत सारे लोग बिकॉज ऑफ वॉर दे वर फ्लाइंग अवे टू यूरोप, बट यूरोपियन कंट्रीज वेर रिलक्टेंट टू टेक देम इन, सो दे वर स्ट्रैंडेड एट द बॉर्डर and it was just beginning of winter, and these people, refugees who were stranded at the border, they haven't had even basic facilities. Across the world, people were requesting European countries to show some humanity. So most of the leaders and thinkers, writers, they were writing tons of editorials in newspapers in support of refugees. But European countries were reluctant, and one incident happened in Mediterranean Sea. Okay, a boat got drowned, and in that many people died, and among them was a 3-year toddler. His name was Alan Kurdi. Okay, so his body was lying upside down on the shore. When that photo was flashed across the newspaper, it shook the conscience of people. And the very next day, European countries opened the border. So that is the power of art. Often it is said, no, that a picture is worth 1,000 words. है ना? बहुत बार ऐसा होता है ना, जो 1,000 वर्ड्स कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर सकते, वो एक फोटोग्राफ या पिक्चर भी कम. दैट्स व्हाई वी मेंटेन म्यूजियम इन ओरिजिनल स्टेट्स. फॉर एग्जांपल, यू माइट हैव हर्ड दैट नाजी जर्मनी में जो कॉन्सेंट्रेशन कैंप थे, वो आज भी वैसे ही रखे गए हैं, एंड वेयर टूरिस्ट विजिट एवरी ईयर एंड दे सी द हॉरर्स दैट ह्यूमैनिटी इज केपेबल ऑफ कमिटिंग, है ना? So this is the importance. So have you written these steps to develop your conscience? Five steps are there. Now, last step, which is important and not mentioned here, write it down. We should sincerely and systematically study the ethics. Yes, both of you are correct. Jallianwala Bagh wall was also classic example of museum, है ना? अभी गवर्नमेंट ने उसको बेहतर करने की कोशिश की एंड दे लॉस्ट द पॉइंट. Yes, हाँ, अमृतसर का पार्टीशन म्यूजियम एंड yes, that African girl and vulture photograph. Correct. Yeah, Kala Pani sale. Yes, yes, yes. All these are classic examples where people can experience the past and let their conscience get shaped. And even movies that you watch. For example, if you have watched Article 15 movie or movie known as Jai Bhim, it makes you thoughtful about what transpired in the past. है ना? Correct. So this is all about conscience. Now, any question, I'm open to it because now we are going to switch to PYQs. तो आप मुझे एक बताओ, जस्ट आई एम आस्किंग योर पर्सनल ओपिनियन. संडे लेक्चर्स आपको कैसे लगते हैं? आई मीन, आर यू enthusiastic about Sunday evening lectures or not? No, I want your personal opinion. Just a kind of survey. Yeah, some people in Sunday mood lose their enthusiasm to attend the lecture, but for many people, Sunday or Monday doesn't matter. So I'm just taking a survey. Acha, good, good. For many people, it seems good. Okay. Okay. Any question about what we covered so far? Science, art, conscience, anything you have doubt in mind, please feel free to ask. Yeah, I'll share some questions and you'll have an idea. Don't worry about it. We'll go for PYQ. Just wait. I'm asking about your doubt. If you have any query lingering in your mind, let me know. I'll try to address it. About science, art, conscience, and their relation with ethics. Or you can share your personal experiences here as well about these three things. GM fruits are banned because the implications of consuming such fruits are unknown. Ethics committee demands enough trials, and still unknowns we don't know. Society is a vague term, Rashmi. When you say society is a source of ethics, you are not able to exactly discuss what do you mean by society because it includes many things that we are discussing. है ना? It is a amorphous term. And when we say society, exactly what comes to your mind is not clear. So we have to be very specific as far as sources of morality is concerned or sources of ethics is concerned. Yeah, you can say that, but again, you have to, Pramod, be sure that whether you have done it or not. Uh, yes, Aditya, to some extent, I agree with you that if you come to know about the defect in baby in the womb itself, and if you can take preventive action, yes, you can avoid unhealthy birth, but there has to be limit of intervention. because it may have other implications as well, है ना. सो बहुत बार ऐसा होता है ना, आपको वूम्ब और कॉन्सेप्शन या प्री नटाल प्री कॉन्सेप्शन स्टेज में ही पता चल जाता है कि बेबी को बर्थ डिफेक्ट है. जैसे हार्ट का कॉम्प्लिकेशन होता है, हार्ट बीट्स मेजर करते हैं अल्ट्रासोनिक टेस्टिंग में, तो उस वक्त आपको मालूम होता है, एंड दे टेक प्रिवेंटिव एक्शन. ये अभी भी होता है, एंड दैट इज इथिकल, है ना. सो दैट वी कैन अशर इन हेल्दी बेबी, उसका बर्थ हेल्दी हो जाए इसके लिए, और उसमें कुछ गड़बड़ नहीं. बट you are shaping the destiny of the baby without giving it a choice is not ethical. That is what designer baby is all about, है ना. Anything else, guys? So shall we move ahead towards PYQ? Okay, let's go for PYQ. Write down this first PYQ. It was a simple question for 3 marks, 50 words. It was about difference between ethics and law. So what would you write for 3 marks and 50 words? At least you can write 3 differences to get 3 marks. So what 3 differences you can tell about between law and ethics based on what we discussed so far in the previous lecture? Do you remember previous lecture where we discussed difference between law and ethics? Okay, first point that you can write here is law gives us common minimum necessary morality. So law has certain limitations. It doesn't give us each and everything about ethics, while ethics goes beyond law. So ethics has a wider scope while law has a limited scope. Correct. This is also correct that laws are precise, exact, while ethics is comparatively vague because it gives us values, principles, theories, but it doesn't tell us exactly what needs to be done in a given situation, like law. So ethics is not that precise compared to law. Right, codification कहते हैं हम इसको. Correct. So law is a manifestation of ethics. Ethics is a foundation of law. And final third difference जो आप बता सकते हो वो ये है that implementation of law requires formal institutions like administration, police, court, right? While implementation of ethics also requires informal institutions like family, friend, relatives, or community. Is this clear? ये 3 differences clear हो गए आपको? Can you write a beautiful answer around it? Yes. टेबल फॉर्मेट में भी लिख सकते हो आप, या पैराग्राफ फॉर्मेट में भी लिख सकते हो. Keep your answer within the word limit. So at the most you can write in 60 words, but don't exceed that. Is this clear? Last part is that implementation of the law requires formal institutions like administration, police, court, while implementation of ethics also requires informal institutions in addition to formal. So informal institution कौन से होते हैं? Family, friend, relatives, community. You can say that laws are rigid and ethics is flexible, but you have to be very specific here, है ना? Because it is open to interpretation when you say ethics are flexible. In terms of what? Okay, now let's write down second question and we'll discuss it. Take few minutes and write down this second question and we'll start discussing it. So once you have done, let me know. Just type in chat box done, then we'll start discussing the answer. Done guys? Yes, हो गया आपका लिख के? Okay, now let's try to understand the question. The first part of the question is a statement. Okay, they're asking your opinion about it. So what does the statement say? It says that for a civil servant, in order to do one's duty effectively, mere following the law or complying with the law is not enough. So what he or she needs in addition to following the law? They say a well-developed sensibility towards ethical issues. Now, question is, do you agree? So yes, we agree with it. Why? You have to explain why do you agree with the statement. So how would you explain here? You have to write what we discussed, that ethics is more expansive than law. Law has limits, right? Law doesn't tell each and everything in every situation. It only gives us common minimum necessary morality. So there will always be certain areas where law will not guide a civil servant as to what to do and what not to do. So to deal with these gray areas, a civil servant is given discretionary powers. So have you heard this word? Discretionary powers. Right. Discretionary powers are those powers where a civil servant can use his intellect or conscience to apply the law where law is not clear, right? But in order to use those discretionary powers in a right way, particularly in gray areas, a civil servant need to have a well-developed sensibility towards ethical issues. This is the explanation you need to keep. So have you got this explanation? Write in your own words in your notebook. That very often that law doesn't provide clarity as to what to do, what not to do in many cases. It doesn't cover each and every situation. So to deal with these gray areas, gray situation where law is not clear, a civil servant is given discretionary powers. And now to use those discretionary power in right way, a civil servant need to have a well-developed ethical sensibility towards ethical issues. ये आपको बता रहा है. समझ में आ गया? Now you have to explain the same thing by using examples. Now first is an act is ethically right but not legally. Now do you remember the diagram that we had drawn while discussing relation between ethics and law? So this first point is about quadrant D in that diagram. So if you have a notebook, go through it, otherwise I'll show you. ये देखो, ये वाला हमने डिस्कस किया था, है ना? क्वाड्रेंट डी, एन एक्ट इज ethically right but not legally, right? And second point is an act is legally right but not ethically. ये क्वाड्रेंट बी है. अब यहां जो एग्जाम्पल हमने लिखे हैं वो नहीं आपको देने हैं. ओके, सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ एग्जाम्पल विल यू गिव वेयर द सिविल सर्वेंट रोल इज एट द सेंटर? समझ में आ रहा है? सिविल सर्वेंट का रोल इंपॉर्टेंट है, उसको सामने रख के आपको एग्जाम्पल देने हैं. So what example will you give here? An act is ethically right but not legally. So you can give an example of a civil servant who goes out of the way to help an poor person who doesn't fit into the legal criteria of a particular scheme, है ना? तो वो लीगली राइट नहीं होगा लेकिन इथिकली राइट होगा बिकॉज दैट पुअर पर्सन डिजर्व्स अ हेल्प। ये एग्जांपल आप दे सकते हो। सेकंड में कौन सा दे सकते हो? एन एक्ट इज लीगली राइट बट नॉट इथिकली। So you can give here an example. A civil servant undertakes anti-encroachment drive, which is legally right. But if he doesn't give enough time for the people who are getting harmed by such drive for relocation, then that is not ethically right. है ना? तो towards by giving such example, towards the end आपको इसमें बताना है that very often than not there comes a clash between ethics and law. So, an ethically sensible civil servant recognizes this clash and tries to navigate the decision making and minimize this the clash. So, पहले केस में वो क्या करेगा कि लीगली राइट नहीं है, सो उसको लीगली राइट बनाने के लिए ही विल ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट अल्टरनेटिव्स थ्रू विच ही कैन हेल्प द पुअर पर्सन। सेकेंड केस में क्या करेगा कि लीगली राइट एक्शन तो लेना ही है लेकिन बट ही विल गिव सम टाइम टू द अफेक्टेड पीपल टू फाइंड द अल्टरनेटिव्स एंड देन विल टेक द एंटी इंक्रोचमेंट ड्राइव। सो ये आपको बताना है दैट दिस वुड हैपन ओनली इफ अ सिविल सर्वेंट हैज सेंसिबिलिटी टुवर्ड्स इथिकल इश्यूज। इज दैट क्लियर? हाँ, ये इंपॉर्टेंट है आपके लिए और ये एस्पेक्ट हमेशा एग्जाम में पूछा गया है डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली। So there have always been, question on these aspects, ethics and law. केस स्टडी में भी आते हैं और बहुत बार सेक्शन ए में भी आते हैं। Anything else you want to ask about these questions? You want to share about these questions? Yeah, you can say, Pramod, your example is right. Giving food and shelter to illegal immigrant is also a right example for first. So is this answer clear to you guys? Can you write a beautiful answer around the point that I shared now? Okay, good. Now, shall we move on to next topic? We will have just beginning a start of that topic and we'll continue to discuss in the next lecture. तो शुरू करें नेक्स्ट टॉपिक का डिस्कशन। ओके, so write down name of this topic. What we are going to discuss subsequently is what is ethics, what is its nature, what are its determinants, dimensions, and consequences. This is all what we are going to discuss. Now, so far, what we discussed indirectly is what is not ethics, right? So even though there are different sources that guide us about morality, namely laws, religion, custom, tradition, emotions, science, art, and conscience, still we cannot call them ethics because each of them has certain limitations. Then the next natural question is this, then what is ethics? Right, so let's start with the word ethics. It comes from the Greek word ethos, and the meaning of the ethos is custom, traditions, ways of behavior. So this is how ethics started. When the ancient Greek philosophers started investigating customs and traditions from the perspective of their rightfulness or wrongfulness, ethics was born. है ना? So ethics की शुरुआत वैसे हुई. For example, Socrates was challenging the established notion through his questioning, Socratic questioning method. आपको समझ में आ रहा है ये सब? ये मैं क्या बताने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ? Yes, this is the origin of ethics. Literal meaning of the ethics. It comes from the word ethos. When you investigate custom, traditions, and ways of behavior of your society, you indulge into ethics. And how do you investigate? You try to investigate them from rightfulness or wrongfulness perspective. But now tell me, is this enough to make sense of what is ethics the way it is today? No. Since that period, it has evolved into a separate branch of philosophy, जिसको हम कहते हैं मोरल फिलॉसफी, है ना? तो इस मोरल फिलॉसफी को जानना है तो हमें क्या जानना पड़ेगा? आपने ये लिख लिया है सो दैट आई कैन मूव अहेड एंड डिस्कस फर्दर. हम्म. देखो, सिर्फ सुना मत करो. ओके, ट्राई टू स्क्रिबल डाउन इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स सो दैट राइटिंग रीइंफोर्सेस द लर्निंग. ओके, ग्रेट. तो हमें ये तीन चीजें देखनी है इन ऑर्डर टू अंडरस्टैंड द एसेंस ऑफ एथिक्स. फर्स्ट, वेयर इज द प्लेस ऑफ एथिक्स इन फिलोसॉफी. देन व्हाट इज फिलोसॉफी एंड द एसेंस ऑफ एथिक्स. ऐसे हम आगे जाएंगे. इज दैट क्लियर, ऑनलाइन पीपल? सो आर यू रेडी फॉर दिस? Okay, today we will begin only. We won't discuss each and everything because time is limited. So let's draw this diagram first. And once you have drawn the diagram, let me know, we'll go ahead. This diagram depicts the place of ethics in philosophy. है ना? So draw करो ये diagram अच्छे से and then we'll go ahead for further discussion. Let me know once you have done in. Okay, so just type in chat box that you have done it. All right, great. Now let's look at the word philosophy. This word philosophy comes from the two root words feel and sophy. PHIL, feel. Feel का मतलब है love and sophy का मतलब है wisdom. So have you come across uses of this suffix prefix feel? Yes. For example, philanthropy, right? Here anthropy comes from the word anthropos. और anthropos का मतलब है mankind. So when you do something out of love for mankind, that is charity, that is known as philanthropy. Similarly, philosophy का literal meaning क्या है? The subject that creates love for wisdom. Okay, so you combine these two words into definition, love and wisdom. So philosophy is a subject that creates a love for wisdom. Now, what is wisdom? Wisdom is a virtue that helps you, because of which you can differentiate between true and false, right and wrong, good and bad. है ना? तभी तो हम कहते हैं ना किसी को कि ये वाइज बंदा है. इसके पास विजडम है। विजडम मतलब वो आपके पास क्वालिटी आ गई है जिसकी वजह से आप सच और झूठ इसके बीच का फर्क कर रहे हो। सो प्रोवर्बियली फिलोसॉफी इज फोकस्ड ऑन इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग दीज थ्री आइडियाज, जिसको हम हिंदी में कहते हैं सत्य शिव सुंदर। ओके, हाँ। ट्रुथ, सत्य मीन्स ट्रुथ, शिव मीन्स गुड, and Sundar means beauty. These three things are investigated and studied properly in philosophy. And the way it is done results into four branches of philosophy. Now we are going to discuss these four branches in detail, but initially I'll try to give you mere definitions of these branches. So write down definition. First is a metaphysics. So this word meta, okay, meta का मतलब है to go beyond. So here metaphysics means to go beyond physics and study it. So definition क्या है metaphysics का? Write down. The definition is the systematic study of existence. In Marathi we call it अस्तित्वात असण्याचा शास्त्रशुद्ध अभ्यास, है ना? So for example, say this bottle is there. Okay, so when we say this bottle exists, what do we mean by it? है ना? So there are different schools of thoughts in philosophy. For example, one says empiricism. So empiricism says that whatever you experience does exist. But there is exactly opposite school of thought known as rationalism. It opposes empiricism by saying that all experiences are not reliable. Some experiences are deceptive. For example, you see mirage, right? But your intellect tells you that it is not true experience. It is an illusion created by light. Or your experience tells you that the color of the sky is blue, but your intellect tells you that it is not blue, it is just illusion created by light. Are you getting the point here? Yes. हाँ, तो सच में है क्या, इसका स्टडी हम मेटाफिजिक्स में कर रहे हैं। किस चीज का अस्तित्व है ये हम ढूंढने की कोशिश मेटाफिजिक्स में कर रहे हैं। सेकंड इज एपिस्टेमोलॉजी, है ना? हम अभी ब्रीफली मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ। ओके, इसका डिटेल्ड ये कैसे होता है मैं आपको नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में बताऊंगा। एपिस्टेमोलॉजी को हम मराठी में कहते हैं ज्ञान शास्त्र। सो यू कैन राइट डाउन, इट इज अ सिस्टमैटिक स्टडी ऑफ नॉलेज, है ना? सो व्हेन यू इन्वेस्टिगेट दैट वेदर समथिंग इज रियली नॉलेज और नॉट, you are indulging into epistemology. Then third is logic. Logic का मतलब है systematic study of arguments. So whatever you try to prove in philosophy is through argument, but how to do it ये आपको logic बता रहा है. So together these three try to investigate truth about different things. Then fourth is axiology. इसको हम मराठी में कहते हैं मूल्य शास्त्र. It is a systematic study of values or worth, है ना? सो शिव और सुंदर जो है वो इसमें इन्वेस्टिगेट होता है, और इससे दो ब्रांचेस मिलते हैं हमें, एक है इथिक्स एंड दूसरा है एस्थेटिक्स। एस्थेटिक्स डील्स विद द ब्यूटी, सो वी ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट ब्यूटी इन मटेरियल ऑब्जेक्ट। सो फाइन आर्ट्स का बर्थ यहाँ होता है। But when we try to find out what is worth and valuable in human life, we indulge into ethics. And again, ethics has four branches: meta-ethics, descriptive ethics, applied ethics, and normative. So in the next lecture, we are going to discuss all these in detail. I'll share some of the interesting experiments that are being done in philosophy in each of these branch, and how we try to learn certain truths about life and in general about world through philosophy, ये भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे। अच्छा, गोइंग अहेड, आपके एसे में, बिकॉज आई एम गोइंग टू टीच यू एसे एज वेल, दैट यू आर गोइंग टू राइट फिलोसॉफिकल एसे, एंड टू राइट फिलोसॉफिकल एसे यू नीड सर्टेन फिलोसॉफिकल फाउंडेशन। तो इसके लिए दो किताबें आपके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है, उनका नाम लिखो आप, राइट डाउन। फर्स्ट वन इज सोफीज वर्ल्ड बाय जोस्टेन गार्डर। ओके, सोफीज वर्ल्ड बाय जोस्टेन गार्डर। ये किताब इंग्लिश में भी अवेलेबल है और मराठी में भी है। विच एवर लैंग्वेज सूट्स यू, यू कैन बाय इट। इवन आई बिलीव इट इज ऑल्सो ट्रांसलेटेड इन हिंदी, है ना? सो आपको जो लैंग्वेज कंफर्टेबल लग रही है उसमें आप ये पढ़ सकते हो। ये क्या कर रहा है किताब, सोफीज वर्ल्ड, ये सोफी नाम के लड़की के अराउंड एक नॉवेल स्टोरी क्रिएट किया है, एंड थ्रू दैट स्टोरी दे आर इन्फॉर्मिंग यू अबाउट हिस्ट्री ऑफ वेस्टर्न फिलोसॉफी। ओके, इसका भी हम ब्रीफली डिस्कस करेंगे यहाँ सब, ठीक है? सो वो आपको पढ़ना है। एंड सेकंड बुक इज पब्लिश बाय यूनिक एकेडमी, इट्स नेम इज 101 important philosophical concepts, ये मैंने खुद लिखा है। तो इसमें जो फिलोसॉफिकल कॉन्सेप्ट बार बार यूपीएससी ऐसे एंड इथिक्स में टारगेट कर रही है, उस हर एक फिलोसॉफिकल कॉन्सेप्ट के बारे में 2 to 3 पेज कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इंफॉर्मेशन दिया है, राइट फ्रॉम कॉन्सेप्ट, फिलोसोफर के व्यूज क्या है, उसका एप्लीकेशन क्या है, उसके अलग अलग डायमेंशन क्या है, सिमिलैरिटी एंड डिफरेंसेस विद सिमिलर कॉन्सेप्ट, उसके अराउंड सिविल सर्विसेज का एप्लीकेशन क्या है, ये भी आपको पढ़ना है। सो दीज 2 books आर इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर बोथ इथिक्स एज वेल एज फिलोसॉफिकल essay. Is that clear? All right, so I think this is good enough for today. ये जो आगे का डिस्कशन है ऑन दिस स्लाइड, ये हम नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में कैरी फॉरवर्ड करेंगे बिकॉज दिस टेक्स सम टाइम। सेकंड बुक आपको अमेजोन पे भी मिल जाएगा रश्मि, है ना? पहला वाला तो मिल ही जाता है, बट सेकंड वाला भी मिल जाएगा आपको अमेजोन पे, इट इज अवेलेबल। एंड इफ यू डोंट हैव इट, जस्ट लेट मी नो। टेलीग्राम पे मैंने इसका लिंक अपलोड किया है, तो वो भी आपको वहां मिल जाएगा। Certain contact numbers I have uploaded, you'll get it there. All right, so any doubt, any question about what we covered today? Because we don't have enough time to proceed further. Yeah, most welcome. And thanks a lot for your patient listening. Second is 101, 101 important